Hello, everyone. Welcome to your favorite Wednesday afternoons around 4 p.m. Central Standard Time activity. It's time for Take the Black, the one show on the internet where we ask questions like, how excited are we to watch House of the Dragon, the next Game of Thrones prequel show on HBO, go up against and defeat or lose to, because there will be a winner and there will be a loser. I'm not accepting some kind of let's all play together draw scenario. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I am Dan Selcke, the editor of winteriscoming.net, and I am here with Daniel Roman, the other editor of winteriscoming.net. And I'm glad to see everyone in the chat today. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining us. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Julie. Hey, Christian. Hope you're all doing swell. And Dan, are you doing swell?
I am doing pretty swell. Yeah. I went out and saw something we're going to talk about later last night. So I've been on cloud nine with amusement today.
Yeah, it's probably not like super healthy to get enjoyment from something being bad and letting that
Probably
fuel
not.
you. But I mean, I don't think it's illegitimate. I think it's you can totally do that. It's like a skill you have to develop, like finding
once in
pleasure.
a great while.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Just in moderation. But that's a little later. Yeah. So I think the thing this week was there wasn't like a ton of big news. So we thought we would have a bit of a deeper dive discussion onto a topic we've been wondering about for a while now. Daniel, why don't you tee it off?
Sure. Yeah. So the thing that, ever since House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power were both announced as coming out this year, we've been joking for months and months and months now about how they were going to air at the same time. It was going to be an online rumble. Fans were going to go to war. Blood would be shed and castles and fortunes would rise and fall. And basically, all of those joking predictions came true because now we know that House of the Dragon is airing at the end of August. The Rings of Power is airing at the beginning of September. So we are going to talk about House of the Dragon versus the Rings of Power. What's actually at stake here in this showdown? So yeah, I mean, Dan, what do you think? Like, do you think there's actually any real consequences to the fact that these shows are airing at the same time? Do you think it will matter for the ratings, for the fans, for the fate of little Harfoots everywhere?
And little people. I will say this. I don't think the consequences are as severe as they were this 20 years ago. I do think that because we're in a streaming world where most folk, I mean, you can't even watch a new show on Amazon live like you would, like at least House of the Dragon, when that airs, it'll be technically on linear TV on HBO on Sundays at 8 or whatever. Although I'm sure they're like pushing the HBO Max angle there because they have like that branding on it. So they want folk to stream this. And then on Amazon, like, I know there are people who like kind of hunker down and just like wait for the thing to come out so they can watch it right then, but that's kind of a thing of the past. Like Game of Thrones might have been one of the final shows that by the way, I usually hate that phraseology, like it's the last blank. Like, no, it's not. This was something else, but it was one of the last shows that kind of aired at a time and everybody gathered around the TV to watch it and then like live tweet at the same time. That'll be a little different this time. They're not like competing for the same eyeballs at the same time, I think. I think it's more going to be about who's going to win the war of propaganda, who's going to win sort of the online discourse about it. Because I think like if you want to watch a Lord of the Rings show and a Game of Thrones show about dragons, you can find time in your week for both. That won't be a huge problem. But there's going to be one that pulls ahead, right? Isn't that true? Like there's going to be one that gets more coverage, that gets more favorable coverage. There's going to be one that gets, more plaudits, more critics circle awards, more fan fiction, fan art, more passion, more like one that has like the bigger contingent of people screaming about it and talking about, this is great, this is great, this is great. It's just gonna happen. So they're bragging rights, I guess. are what's at stake, which really is the most important thing, way more than ratings.
That's funny. Yeah, I feel like we've come around to this period where we are past the point where they're competing. Like the ratings numbers are not really going to dip for either one of these shows because they're on at the same time. I don't think. I just don't really see it making a difference. And even if House of the Dragon does air at a time, because like HBO still does that to some extent, you're right. They are pushing the Max branding because they've built this streaming platform that has so many people subscribed to it. That's now probably a pretty respectable chunk of their overall viewership.
They want it to be.
Yeah, they're kind of doing double duty with their marketing there. But I think the coverage thing is a good point. That's something I've been thinking about, and obviously it's relevant to us because we will be covering both of these shows. But like realistically, if both of these shows are on at the same time, not to say sites won't still be covering both of them a lot, obviously they will, but would they still get the same focused coverage because they're airing at the same time? Or will the attention just naturally be drawn one way or another depending on how good or not good one of them is? Or both of them. I mean, they could both tank, but I'm hopeful that at least one of them will be good.
If they both tank, we might want to start looking into new career options because I feel like this is a bit of a proving ground for us here. As Julie says, it won't matter to me. House of the Dragon will win, at least at the start. If it ends up being a dud, I will give up on TV for good. Ooh, those are tall words. See, it's what we're talking about. Might be alive.
Tell Claire Fraser you said
very
that.
Disappointed. I'd be very disappointed too. Crossing the fingers. I'm a little out of shape, by the way, people. So just apologies for that. I'm trying to think about what point of yours I wanted to respond to. It's gonna be such a good point I was gonna make. Oh, what was it? Oh, so smart. Why don't you just repeat what you said to me in a more abbreviated time?
I have a question for you that you made me think of just now. So you said this is kind of a proving ground, and we're working on something right now that's looking at all these shows that have been influenced by Game of Thrones. Why is this the proving ground? House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power? Because like the Wheel of Time and The Witcher they were in this same situation basically last year, where they were both airing around this more or less the same time, close enough to compare apples and oranges. So why is this time the proving ground for these high budget fantasy shows?
Because as big as the Wheel of Time and The Witcher were, I think folk were expecting less out of them. House of the Dragon is the Game of Thrones follow-up. Game of Thrones was the show that defined the 2010s. It was the show that launched 1,000 ships. It was the show that led to the fantasy sci-fi smorgasbord that we are currently dining on. I want to get that metaphor consistent.
Yeah.
It
was good.
Thank you. I almost said like living in like no you eat a smorgasbord. It was the show that convinced network streaming services that they needed to spend this towering amount of money to get eyeballs on it. So there are a lot of expectations on the follow-up to that specifically. As for Lord of the Rings, like Amazon is pouring all its might, all its hatred into this one property. All that money, like this is magnitudes more than they spent on the Wheel of Time or The Expanse or anything else. It's still like couch cushion money.
They're going all in.
But yes, they are going all in. So this is also, it has the name. Like Lord of the Rings means something. Like more than The Witcher does, more than Wheel of Time does. Wheel of Time's been around for a long time, very famous, but it's still not Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is the big granddaddy of like modern fantasy. Even Game of Thrones is in Lord of the Rings shadow to some extent. So these are the two. I really do believe this is, and again, I think I've said this before that I can anticipate some like pushback on don't pit them against each other. They can both exist. Sure. Like, they can and they will, but the human brain compares things. It's how we can make sense of the world a lot of the time. And it's like these two are trotting themselves out like kind of on two platters and choose one or the other to be compared. It's begging us to do it. And they're going to be compared anyway. So I say, go ahead and do it. And so that's why I think these are the two. Of all the shows in the room, which are the two? It's these two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, like those are probably the two most recognizable fantasy
right now
show film properties that have ever existed, maybe at this point.
Ooh, let's not go nuts.
Of film. And yeah, I think, you know, it's natural to compare. Like we've got some comments like Diane says hello, Dan and Daniel. Hi, Diane.
Hey, Dan.
Looking forward to House of the Dragon, but also we'll watch The Rings of Power. So like we're all in that boat. We're probably gonna watch it. But we're gonna compare. It's gonna happen. And so let me ask you, are you excited for both of these shows?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I mean,
I think I am too. I'm not confident in.
I'm more excited.
I think Rings of the Power has a lot more to prove. The Rings.
Sure.
The Rings. The Rings of the Power. The Rings of Power has more to prove.
It's Rings of the Lord, the Power of
Dragons.
Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Whatever. I am.
Yeah.
I'm really tired. I was up pretty late last night. That's why I'm kind of like a little whatever. I'm just drinking water today as a change.
I feel you. It's a coffee day here.
Yeah. But no, one thing about and people are saying they don't want to compare them. And Nicole says, has much more to live up to. I don't know about that because Lord of the Rings, again, it has a long legacy. Okay, I was going to say that I'm excited about House of the Dragon. I am interested in the Rings of Power. And so that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely excited for the one, and the other one, I'm willing to let it impress me. But I am expecting a little less just because they're making it up. There's no source material, yada, yada, yada. Also, I have a question for you. So what do you think about the notion that even though they're coming at the same time, they're kind of in the similar vein, do we think that they'll be different? That they'll be very different in tone? Because we know to expect for House of the Dragon. We know to expect the sex, the violence. We have like at least 3 different incestuous couples, very much in keeping with Game of Thrones. Like there's going to be the dirty language. We might see some naughty parts. We're probably going to see some eviscerations. We're going to see the politicking. I'm not sure of what we'll get from Lord of the Rings, honestly. I mean, because again, they're forging their own path. I tend to think they're going to try, because The Witcher had some Game of Thrones light shenanigans going on. I don't think pulled it off quite as well. I wonder if they're going to retrofit some stuff on there. And I just wonder if it'll be different enough to stand out and be its own huge hit. Because I'm not sure they can both be huge hits.
Well, I feel like that's part of the question, right? So I feel like when thinking about like the next Game of Thrones, that's something I feel like all the studios forget about, is like Game of Thrones' tone as being a really adult show that had like complex politics and sex and violence and all those elements. Like that's something that not every fantasy story has. So like I think with the Wheel of Time, even though that's it's got a huge fan base, I think part of the reason we haven't seen that become a huge, massive hit, and it still could be
one season
but
in,
like it's only one season in. Very few things are a huge, massive hit after one season. But I think the challenge in front of the Wheel of Time is that it doesn't have those elements, as many of those elements that might appeal to people outside of the fantasy reader genre. So like you made a point in your, I was plumbing the depths of the Winter is Coming archives for an article recently. I came across a very old debate you had about Lady Stoneheart. And when we were talking about it, we won't get into the debate, but when we were talking about it after, you made the point of that Stoneheart was the moment in Game of Thrones where it crossed from being a political war drama type fantasy story to a high fantasy story. Ooh. And I totally agree with that. And I think the political drama aspects of Game of Thrones are part of what let it appeal to so many people outside.
100%. Yeah.
It's what made it like a breakthrough hit, well, a broad hit. So I think Lord of the Rings, that's the challenge it has ahead of it. Can something that is like going way back in Tolkien, like the story, not like the third tier Tolkien story, right? Because like there's The Hobbit, there's Lord of the Rings, and then there's the way back history. And that's what this show is going to be about. Can it have a broad appeal to grab, you know, viewers across the board? And I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know, like the Lord of the Rings movies were a proper genre busting phenomenon. I mean, we were talking about earlier, like the biggest franchises ever. I'd say Star Wars, at least in like the kind of genre space we're talking about. That is completely, you know, out there, a little different. What was the other example I had? Harry Potter. I mean, we're talking about just out and out magic. Feel good stuff.
That's true.
I don't think there's anything necessarily keeping a fantasy show from being the biggest there ever was and ever will be. But I mean, really, if you think about it, Game of Thrones becoming a phenomenon was very unlikely because, like, I think it's easier in retrospect to say, like, oh, people were attracted to the grounded, incredibly adult level politicking and all the mature themes. But like, even now, like, conventional wisdom is to keep it as middle of the road as possible. Conventional wisdom is to keep it more like an MCU movie where like you make sure you got some action, make sure you got some comedy, make sure you got likable characters, make sure you don't do anything too risque so the parents can bring their kids to the movie. Like that's what you're supposed to do. Like Game of Thrones didn't do any of that, and it became a giant hit anyway. And I have always kind of been a little bemused that like other shows that are kind of following Game of Thrones, like Halo, for instance. I think I read that like that they were trying to, we want to be broad based, or like like the new Star Treks that are more Star Warsy. Like they want to be as big as Game of Thrones, but they don't take the lesson that it got big because it took these big risks, and that they're making a little more like a standard thing. By the way, some good comments. Someone compared the Game of Thrones to Lord of the Rings battle to the classic Star Wars versus Star Trek. Christian. Comments.
Christian,
people have their diehard fans, but Star Wars fans will always be offended when it competes with Star Trek fans. Also, I think a good point with that is, look, Star Wars won. Like, if that was a war, Star Wars won. Because, oh, come on, we all know it did.
No, it did.
I mean,
don't tell Chris Pine, but it did.
Not in terms of quality, but if the measure is what had the bigger cultural impact, what had the what made more money, like Star Wars won. It just did. It lives in the imagination more, and I think part of that is because it is a little more broad. Like Star Trek classically is a bit more niche. It's a bit more, let's think existentially about the nature of existence and our place in the universe.
It's more classic science fiction that it's like, it's about the human experience in space and intellectual problems. You know, Star Wars gets the rap of being space wizards,
which is fine. I like space wizards,
which is fine.
Like it's a bit more simple, so that wins. And I'd say that Lord of the Rings is the Star Wars in that comparison, because it is a little more open. It's a bit more good versus evil. It's a bit more, elemental. But I don't know if that's what this show is going to be. I really don't.
Here's a question for you, though. I totally agree with all of that. Mm-hmm. I think if you look at the way I don't want to say the rise of like gritty fantasy and science fiction stories. I think we've seen more of them in the past like 20 years than probably the preceding however many years.
Sure thing.
So when Lord of the Rings, the films came out, a big part of that was like, it was an experience. It's an experience. You go, you're transported to Middle Earth and with basically movies that were the highest production quality you could possibly hope for that story. So I think I kind of wonder if now, 20 years later, if that same lightning in a bottle can be recaptured when
Yeah,
the
I do
the
too.
darker stories have kind of grown so much more that there's a demand for that. Is there the same demand for whimsical fantasy? Not to say Lord of the Rings can't be dark, it totally can, but no one's, torturing Reek in Lord of the Rings.
No,
I don't
okay.
know. Do you think
Gollum.
that makes a difference?
Well, I'm not convinced the Rings of Power is going to be terribly whimsical. Like, I wonder if they're going to take Game
Okay.
of Thrones cues, because remember,
Yeah.
yeah, it's based on a bunch of bullet points at the end of J.R.R. Tolkien's books, but they're going to
Yeah.
do a lot. And again, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no reason a broad-based thing can't break through. I mean, again, Star Wars
Yeah.
and Marvel's the biggest thing in the world, and it keeps everything. I mean, I guess they said shit on Moonlight a couple of times, but mostly it keeps everything very PG, maybe soft PG-13. Like,
Yeah.
and it's quite wholesome. And again, biggest thing in the universe in terms of entertainment right now, and has been for a
Yeah.
while. So no, I don't think there's any reason a wholesome thing couldn't break on through to the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
Any
Fair.
other
Very
metrics that we can got? Okay, so
like,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask what kind of metrics.
I mean, if we have no other how can we decide, compare the two? We can just go straight to the final question: who wins?
Yeah, well, we can definitely decide that now before either of them have
Yes,
aired.
we can.
Who
We've seen a
has already
single
won?
thing.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I knew one other point.
What's
Technology. Like, you mentioned that Lord of the Rings movies had like the big technology at the time, the big special effects pushes.
Yes.
That makes a difference too,
Yes.
because like Game of Thrones too was
Yeah.
pioneering in terms of the content, sure, kind of the long form ambition, but it was also pioneering in terms of the technology. Like, you'd never seen
Yeah.
a battle like the Battle of the Bastards on TV. You've seen it in the movies. I mean, I think some of the battles on that show were better than the movies. Just not
Totally
like
agree.
just like the movies in general. Nothing that had ever on TV before. Nothing remotely close. Something that big. So that was really boundary pushing in terms of not just what's Jon Snow going to do, but in terms of like, how are they going to depict this earth-shattering event? I mean, I'm old enough to remember watching fantasy crap in the late 90s, Xena Warrior Princess or whatever. They have like a battle, and it's like three people they keep reshooting from different angles, make it look like an army or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
They really stepped it up and did things that had not been done. Now, to keep doing that, they're going to spend all the money, but I'm not sure, and perhaps they'll impress us. Like, Amazon spending the most money ever, so maybe but there's kind of that plateau where it's you spend more money, but I'm not sure. I love Xena Tunicle. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Xena, but we're just talking in terms of like the technology development.
Xena's awesome.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong. I wonder if there's room to kind of grow and pave new roads in that technical sense to get people on board with you, because they want the spectacle of it. Like, or does it get much better than the Battle of the Bastards? Like, can they do technologically wise better than that? Or
well, I think that's a really great point in terms of innovating with shows. And you really see that since Game of Thrones. The one that I always notice now that a lot of shows do is like the one-er shots. So like the long single take shot that follows a character through a battle, that wasn't really done very much, or it didn't have the cultural prominence it has now.
I mean, like, before in movies,
Hard Home and Battle of the
like
Bastards.
Saving Private Ryan or whatever, but certainly not on TV.
No. And now like Wheel of Time did it in its premiere. Like, you can find examples easily of other shows that are doing this now.
Arrow
so I
did
think
it.
that question of which one?
Arrow did it, like in the last season. There, I remember reading the thing where like this is our version of the one-er shot from Battle of the Bastards we're going to do. So just like, it definitely got around. Oh yeah, Daredevil had that, although that was a little more intimate.
Yeah, and that was early enough that it wasn't copying Game of Thrones, because they were around the same time, and Daredevil. But that's another great example of a show that really pushed itself to innovate in terms of the shots and the craft. Because like, I don't know if you've seen season 3 of Daredevil, but there's one of those. You have, okay, so there's a prison break.
Mm-hmm.
There's a prison break in that season
it.
that is one of those shots, and it's like a 15-minute long scene with multiple acts throughout the scene, and it's all one take. It's crazy.
It is pretty cool.
So yeah, so I think that's a really great question. Are any of these shows going to innovate in a way that other shows try to copy? Because I think that definitely makes a difference. I think there's room for it. You know, that's why James Cameron is taking 10 years to make Avatar 2.
Oh yeah,
part
that's
of that
why.
Yeah, fair. Zoe Saldana talked about this, how part of the reason was getting the technology to work right underwater, the motion capture for the actors. And she said it took him years to crack the issue to make it work, but he did it.
I mean, it is.
We'll see.
This is off topic, but like in terms of Avatar, is that like James Cameron innovating to bring something new, or is it that he's been obsessed with the ocean for like decades and just has found a way for major film studios to finance his fetishization of deep water diving?
Why not both? Why not both?
Fucking those dose.
Yeah. Well, I think, you look at the original Avatar and it did what we're talking about in terms of innovating technologically in a way that made it an event. Like you went to see it in theaters because there was just no other experience like it at the time. So yeah, I hope that one or both of these shows is able to do something like that. And honestly, I'm kind of hopeful for House of the Dragon because there's so many dragons. If
they'll have to step it up,
unlike Game of Thrones.
Fail. Yes, that's very, very true. There are new vistas to kind of chase if they have the will and the follow through. And the other thing about the technology is that Amazon has all the money. So
true.
If just that amount of money alone, they can fully blaze some new trails if they put it to good use. Now, the question is, again, I just don't know if it's been put to good use. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, like that is the question.
Will we see all that money on screen and actually be wowed by it? Or, I don't know, will it just like, yeah, you spent a lot of money, but like, I don't know, you didn't really have anything good to spend it on. So it kind of like the curve is like more money, how impressed you are. And like after a certain amount, it's kind of like, have you ever heard like the thing about money does buy happiness up to around $80,000 a year, and then it kind of levels off?
I've heard that.
Like, I wonder if it's
I think it hits diminishing returns.
Yeah, if it's like, yes, more money will buy you really, really great looking stuff, but it's eventually like it can't really, like, what more can you really do? Like, great, you made like every leaf on that bush look really realistic, but we don't care. So
yeah,
it's gonna take more than that, but that's part of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's, it's one piece of the equation. If the creative vision isn't there and people behind the scenes pushing to do the innovations, just having more money isn't going to make the difference. I see some people on YouTube talking about Sapochnick, Miguel Sapochnick, being totally a trendsetter.
He did do a lot of good stuff, man.
And that's why I'm more confident for House of the Dragon, honestly. So like we talk about budgets, we talk about innovating, and one of the innovations we're talking about with Game of Thrones with those wonder shots was Miguel Sapochnick that did that. He's the one who really brought that onto Game of Thrones with Hard Home. So he's now doing House of the Dragon, which is going to have like Caraxes and Sunfire. See that comment there too. Dragon battles in the air in a way we've maybe never seen on television before. And if anyone can pull it off, it's Miguel Sapochnick. Which
Game of Thrones did not have. It had one really poorly lit dragon versus dragon battle. Like that was it. And like this there's definitely room to do new stuff. And then they have to do all like the character stuff right too. It's a lot, but yeah, I'm supporting House of the Dragon. Of course I am in this battle that I'm making a battle. I don't want peace. I don't want a calm rollout with no events. I want very isolated, internet-based, non-bloody war. And I want it to play out in the trenches of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and winnerscoming.net and on think pieces. And I want it to be a good time for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But I want it to be heated. And I want a winner. I want blood. And I want House of the Dragon to be the one who's, well, metaphorical blood. And I want House of the Dragon to be the victor.
Yeah. And only time will tell, but I'm right there with you. It sounds like most of the people, unsurprisingly, like we're a Game of Thrones podcast. Of course, we're going to have this opinion, but I think there are good reasons to have this opinion too. The mystery is there for Amazon to prove what it's going to do.
And then, do you realize that there's a year where we could get new seasons of House of the Dragon, the Rings of Power, The Witcher, The Wheel of Time, all in like 1 year, and just
that'd be nuts.
Be awash in griffins and dragons and people in crowns on thrones talking about how the secession cannot come to pass and assassinations and politics and just
it'll be a good year.
Fantasy all year round. It will be like that. The year that happens is the year the promise of Game of Thrones will be fulfilled and in full bloom. It is the year all of these shows come out at once.
Yeah, I like that. I agree.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, crazy amazing.
Okay.
All right,
I'm glad you all are on board.
Should we meander? Yeah.
Just some of the comments are like, that's gonna be a fun year. I agree, Nicole. And we'll see you all there. But let's meander. Daniel, you saw a movie the other night, and you have some opinions about it.
I do, and so I went and saw Morbius. I did it for I was already mad about Morbius.
God, you're so mad.
Just because of everything I'd heard about the credit scenes. So I wanted to go see it for the express purpose of finding out if it sucked as bad as everyone is saying.
Although
we're going to get into some spoilers for Morbius here. So if you care, why do you care? First of all, but if you care, here's your warning.
No shaming here. If you loved Morbius, you go and love Morbius.
I'm happy for you.
What is he? The half vampire, living vampire? What's his deal?
The living vampire. The living vampire, gotcha. Which is first off just a weird villain to choose to do a standalone movie for. Like he's an obscure one, and Spider-Man has a really, really big rogues gallery. So I don't know why he's the choice for this.
Sure,
but
I will say it does have one of those big critics hate it, audience seem to like it splits. But I guess you'll plumb those depths for us right now. What do you think, Dan?
Yes. So let me ask you, Dan,
sure.
And I'll ask this for the people in the comments too. Are you familiar with the movie The Room?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. We went to the theater to see it, like one of those late night things once.
Nice.
It was insufferable.
Yeah.
Everyone was like way too loud. And then we were like 30. And then we saw it like with me and a few friends, like at our apartment just for fun. That was way more fun.
Yeah. So Morbius, is the best thing I can say about it is that it is the room of superhero movies. It was so like there were things that were good about it. Like some of the performances, like Matt Smith was great. Like Jared Leto did a pretty decent job. Some of the effects were awesome. But then on the flip side, there were moments where it was just like incomprehensibly bad to just be laughing, because like it passed that point of like, oh, this is boring or bad or anything, into this is laughably bad and therefore good again.
Good.
I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hour and 40 minutes I spent watching Morbius, but at no point did it feel like I was really watching a good movie. The best example I can give, so there are some FBI agents in this movie. Mm-hmm. They are extremely inept. Their writing makes no sense. They leaned into that trope hard. One of them is just a super derpy dude. They walk into this woman's apartment and they're like, oh, we're searching for Dr. Morbius's girlfriend. Oh, she has a cat. Hey, where's her cat? One of them is like, here, kitty. he picks up the litter box and shakes it to lure the cat out. This is the best example I can give of the absolute incomprehensibility of the type of writing that was all throughout Morbius. Because who calls a cat with a litter box? Like,
shakes the litter
was it
box
supposed to
call
be
the
food?
cat out? Yeah, I don't get it.
So there's stuff like that throughout the entire movie. Someone visits him in his Morbius in his jail cell, leaves him a bunch of items. It's like, how does that happen in a jail cell? Like, this
Did
is
you smuggle those in? No, they're just here in a bag.
No, not at all. No one checked.
Here, Morbius.
So there's stuff like that.
Brought in this file for you. They didn't check me.
Yep, someone stays alive just long enough to like whisper a single line and then die. Like,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, like called and then stayed alive for the 10 minutes or however long, and then just the one line and dead. So there were things like that that were I don't know, just again, if you want to see a bad movie, Morbius is just not a good movie. But so I guess the thing, so that I'm not just ranting about Morbius, and again, no disrespect to people who liked Morbius, like there are things to like about it. I was just shocked and baffled, and part of that is this picture we have up now. So in the trailers for Morbius, they showed Michael Keaton as the Vulture from the MCU, and they showed this shot, which has Spider-Man with murderer graffitied over it. And basically the murderer shot is something the director said, yeah, someone made the trailer and just put that there. We were never going to include that in the movie. It was never part of the plan.
That smells awfully funny to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Michael Keaton, so if you aren't aware, Michael Keaton is only in the end credits scenes, and they have had him front and center in all of the trailers for this film. So it really made Morbius look like it was going to be something other than what it was. It made it seem like this is going to be Sony's push to tie in as a sister extended universe to the MCU, when in reality, it was just kind of a crappy movie that had some really nonsensical end credit scenes that said, hey, remember, we're part of the MCU, even if it doesn't make sense and we're not going to actually explain to you why that is.
Well, I also know Daniel, this really got to Daniel. This misleading marketing end credits thing. Like, he's been talking about it like since before you saw the movie, for like at least a week. This got to you. And I'm sorry that it upset you that much. I don't like it either.
It's not you who should be sorry. It's Sony. Because it got to me, because this isn't the first time Sony's done it. Like, I have been a fan of these movies forever, and I remember when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out. It had Paul Giamatti as the Rhino, and there was a shot in all the trailers of Paul Giamatti in a mechanical rhino suit. And then I went to see the movie, and that is the literal last shot of the movie, is Paul Giamatti in the rhino suit. And it just really made me ask, like, where is the line of what it's okay to show in trailers? Like, at what point are you deceiving audiences into seeing your movie instead of getting them excited to see it? And I don't know, what do you think about that? Morbius to me is the line where it was too far.
I'd say both of those sound like the line. I'll admit, I don't have your experience with this. I can't recall any time that I've been invested in a movie and a trailer fooled me. That does sound, that sounds wrong. Creating, and I will call complete and utter bullshit on the director saying, like, I don't know where that shot came from. I didn't do anything with it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You're the director. Like, that is a shot with your star in costume in a wall, like, with graffiti invoking another franchise that is not a part of your movie. Like, you had no clue. I mean, I'm sure you didn't have a final cut, but that smells fishy to me. I'd say the line is several steps back from where they put it for those movies, and I'm sorry it upset you so much. Yeah. Julie says, "Poor That's Daniel ripped off." I guess I was just in the fortunate position of not really I never intended to see Morbius. I won't see Morbius.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's The Room bad, that could be fun. So I was not see. I recall Paul Giamatti. I remember I walked into the theater. I was seeing a different movie and I was waiting for it. So the thing where I like walk into Amazing Spider-Man 2 and I watched Paul Giamatti as the Rhino for the last couple minutes.
Yeah.
And that was fun. So I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. And that's fair. It's, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about what you're hoping for out of them, right? And like I did enjoy Morbius because I expected it to be bad. But yeah, I mean, did you like the Venom movie?
I didn't see the Venom movie. I have not seen a Sony superhero movie since like Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, and I was like, nope, I'm out.
Okay, fair. So I liked Venom. I'm partial to the character. I thought the movie was, I expected that one to be bad too, and it was actually surprisingly good. Tom Hardy just really sold it. This movie made Venom look like an Oscar-winning masterpiece. So that's what we'll say about it.
The audience version.
It is what it is.
Christian thinks you might need a tall bourbon and some time to relax.
You're right, Christian. Thank you.
Julie thinks you need a massage, possibly. Anything to kind of
I'm not that upset.
To calm down. By the way,
that upset.
Nicole, well, let's see if this makes you upset. Nicole does think that he might have been the police officer cleaning to see that the litter box was clean. So that meant the cat wasn't there. Oh, are you giving the police officer too little credit?
Yeah, you're giving him too much credit there, Nicole. So that's fair. It's a fair assumption, except that he's literally saying, "Here, kitty, kitty," like verbatim as he's shaking it. So that's why, to me, it was like, maybe that's fit. Yeah, you're giving him way too much credit. There was too much else that didn't make sense for me to buy it. But kudos you for thinking of a way to give them that credit.
Also, congrats on your daughter. That's very cute, Nicole, that she has celebrity crushes on Jared Leto and Doctor Strange. I like Jared Leto too.
That's good taste.
He does make some acting choices, that man, that are very polarizing, I'd say. But he definitely has talent. There's no question about that.
Can we talk just very briefly about the one for Morbius? I think this is so funny.
Okay. Go ahead.
So a headline broke the other day that Jared Leto, so he is a method actor, meaning he goes hard on getting into the mindset of the characters he's portraying. He pretended to be disabled between takes on Morbius, at times delaying the production because like he would be hobbling in on his crutches, like, and it caused them to start shooting 20 minutes late. They had to convince him to use a wheelchair to go to the bathroom because when he was crutching his way to the bathroom, it was delaying the production too much. And I just think that's so, like, kudos him for doing, like, do what works for you, Jared Leto. But I just thought that was so funny. What do you think? Is that too far?
Yes, it's too far. How stupid. As Nicole says, Sophie lives as a vampire. Like, method. Like, oh, I liked what I forget who it was. It might have been Robert Pattinson who said, like, whenever you hear of like someone doing the method acting, like someone's, I'm gonna really immerse myself in this role, you never hear about a method actor like being method to play like a really wonderful, nice person. It's always, no, my character is awful and terrible, so I have to be awful and terrible people on set. Like, I don't know, the patterns sort of line up. It seems it's just inconvenient and annoying to people around you. It's dumb. Find another method. Like, it's a it's a set. This is a professional job. Stop bugging people. Wasn't he the one who like sent dog turds to like Jared Leto, like people on the set of the Suicide Squad, because that's what the Joker would do? Like, that's not method acting. That's like borderline harassment and gross. Like, no, I'm very much not into this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, at the end of the day, like, the director was basically like, everyone's got their method. If you want normal people, don't get into Hollywood making films. I mean, sure, sometimes that's true. Need to put up with them,
but there's like a level of abnormal that we need to like. like accept,
Yeah,
and
I
then you go
agree.
beyond it. No, like, yeah, I agree. Hollywood, everyone in Hollywood's crazy, but like crazy how? Like crazy, like Jared Leto sending poops to your trailer? It's crazy because that's too crazy.
Yeah, I think he sent like dead rats too. Like it was not okay. There was a reason everyone got upset
It's
with
the
him on the set
Joker.
of that.
All right, as usual,
It's the Joker.
we are burning time. Are you watching anything else,
Yeah.
Daniel? Quickly, and are any of you watching anything
Oh,
out there? They want to talk about briefly?
yeah. What did I watch? I watched Moon Knight
I mean, it was good.
this
Yeah,
week. Or I guess it was today. Today, this week, I watched Moon Knight. It was pretty
it
awesome.
was today.
Um,
Yeah, it's good.
I'm really enjoying it. You watched it too, right?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it too. I mean, look, I think you were right in your review of it today. You said that it's good because of Oscar Isaac. He's really pulling his weight on that show. Like
He is.
he's every inflection is interesting. He's landing those jokes. Like I can see myself rolling my eyes at this show if another actor was in it. Because I mean,
Yeah.
it does have that Marvel pattern of like we're serious but not too serious. Like let's have this story about a man with personalities who's losing his job and has no life, but throw in a crazy Colonel Sanders joke in there just to make sure it stays kind of light.
Yeah.
This show is not. I don't think it's going to go anywhere revelatory like WandaVision tried at least to swipe at it. But
Yeah.
it's really good example of like this kind of thing done really well. And I think it owes a ton to Oscar Isaac's performance because he is killing it. He's very funny. He's very relatable. Like even just like throwaway lines,
Yeah.
he's kind of saying that like
Totally.
I think I would like kind of pass over if I saw them written down. He's making work. So the
I
show's
absolutely
fun.
agree with that.
I liked his outfit. His Mr. Knight outfit was fun. Yeah, fun show. I will watch the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. One of the things I've liked about Moon Knight is that it is not reliant on the MCU so far, and that might change, but it feels like, unlike Hawkeye, which was just like an MCU show filled with references and cameos, like Moon Knight feels like they're just telling a really good story that is going to stand on its own 2 feet. And I hope they stick with that because I think it's working for them. Again, partially because Oscar Isaac is just killing it, and Ethan Hawke is doing really well too. I like him a lot in this episode.
Very, very good. Yeah,
he owned it.
He's very charismatic. It's like whispery, sort of gravelly, like you want to be quiet when he's talking, or because you're afraid he'll yell at you, kind of feeling.
He's a really believable cult leader. Honestly, like he's soft spoken and nice until he's kind of scary. And it's like, I believe you are leading cults, or you studied cult leaders for this.
David Koreshi.
Yeah. I think one of the things for Moon Knight, if it's going to do anything revelatory, which I agree with you, it's a Marvel show. So I just kind of don't expect it at this point. Or revolution, whatever. Like,
I like that word. Anyway. I'm a fan of that word.
We're gonna go with it. I think one of the ways Moon Knight might be doing it is in its cultural representation. So like spoiler, we've had one shot that is of Cairo, Egypt in the show so far, and the director, who is Egyptian, or one of Moon Knight's more prominent directors who's Egyptian,
thanks for 6 episodes
he talked about Wonder Woman 1984 and how they didn't represent Egypt well. He slammed it. It's a common thing with movies with Orientalism, where they're like trying to make Egypt look exotic, not showing that the pyramids are next to the city, stuff like that. And he basically said, if we're going to explore this in Moon Knight, because we have to, because it's relevant to Moon Knight, we're going to show Cairo like it actually is. So we get one shot where you see the city with the pyramid. And that's something he talked about specifically, including because Hollywood has so often not done it. So I'm hopeful that Moon Knight might have some cool Egypt stuff as it goes forward.
Oh, sure. I mean, and we'll do that next week. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I will say when he opened the curtains and it was the pyramids outside and then went full, like kind of the kind of a high pitched horn thing, it felt pretty exotic to me, but I'm curious to see what happens next time.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Dan, question.
I also got serious, like Charlie Sheen waking up in Apocalypse Now vibes from that motel room scene at the end there, but that's just showing off.
I can see that. So Cornelia asked, any thoughts on Vox Machina? If either of you have seen
Oh,
it,
yeah,
you watched Vox Machina, right?
I did. Yeah. It was cute. It was cute. It was cute. Cute's my go-to word whenever I want to say something that was like, it didn't change my world, but it was earnest and they were clearly having fun making it and voicing it.
Yeah.
It's very, it feels like a hither thither Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It feels like a bunch of friends got together and just kind of like, no one tries to do like an act. Well, I guess there are some accents. Like no one tries to do like a vernacular thing. No one's kind of doing anything terribly deep. Like it's very like kind of anime emotions. They're all right at the surface, but it's very fun. It's fun and it's well animated, and there are zombies and dragons and spells and sexy winky jokes, and it's fun. It was fun. It's cute. It's cute. Always cute. And some Outlander people are frustrated with it because they don't think Claire. I have seen that a lot. That Claire Fraser apparently is acting OOC out of character, but I can't speak to that. What do you think? Is she acting OOC? Taking ether to numb the pain. Would Claire do that? Would Claire do that?
So I feel like Claire has a long history of, she is very smart, but she also does really frustrating things often enough that it hasn't stood out to me where I've been like, I see the comments of like, she wouldn't do that. She should be smarter than that. She should be smarter than that. But she very often proves that she's impulsive and hot-headed and willing to put her foot in it for whatever reason. So I don't like the ether plotline personally. I think it's understandable why the show went there, because she's dealing with this crazy trauma, which is Outlander's thing. It's like the circle of traumas. Every season, someone's got a different trauma they're dealing with on that show.
Circle of trauma.
And Claire's is really legit. It was awful, the stuff she went through last season. So I don't like it, but the show's doing it. So I'm gonna go with it, I guess.
Daniel, throwing down that gauntlet. And finally, Nicole with an H both think we need a good ancient Egypt show with Game of Thrones style betrayal. Oh, the pharaohs, all they did was kill each other, like kill their parents, kill their brothers, kill their sisters. That's why there's never really been like an ancient Egypt. Has there? I can't think of one, but there should be. I agree with you guys. Yes, most definitely. That would be fun.
An ancient Egypt, like adult
political drama? Sure.
Ooh, that'd be great.
You can make like some magical realism and just like have the gods hanging out too or something. They can go visit them.
I would be so all over that show.
It's a really cool history they got going there, but I'm not sure I've ever seen I've seen like ancient Egypt documentaries. I don't think I've ever seen like an ancient Egypt drama series. I'm sure there's got to be one at some point. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the closest we have is stuff like Moses stories, or like when Rome was invading Egypt late in the Egyptian reign. But it'd be cool to see like a height of Egypt's power, political drama.
Oof. And you're right.
Yeah,
Rome did go there a bit, but that's more about Rome. All right, as usual, we're running low on time. Shall we get to, as Christian says, the Scorpion King? Yes, that was very, very accurate and historically rigorous. All right,
definitely.
Shall we get to the lightning round?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Let's blaze this thing.
Let us lightning.
This is when we go through all the stories we couldn't get to over the rest of the show and just give our 20-second takes on them. I haven't really looked at this list in advance. I'm excited.
Great.
So
it's a true lightning round. Okay, I'm asking first.
Okay.
Because I want to hear your take on this one. So Chris Pratt is officially the voice of Garfield in the new Garfield movie.
Okay, so I don't really care about Garfield. I do think it's interesting that just Chris Pratt is now voicing Super Mario movie and now Garfield. I mean, what's happening is that executives just kind of, they see like, who can we get for this? Just like, who's the first person that pops into your head? Chris Pratt, just call him on the phone. He's doing the other voice thing, right? I wish there was some more imagination happening. Just like, there's no way he's the perfect fit for everything. Okay. That's my Chris Pratt hot take. Okay. Daniel, Speaking of Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac is only signed on to play for one season of the show, so it might be a one and done thing. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I really hope it's not. I think it's awesome that Marvel was able to sign a contract with him for just one season. He basically said, I'm not willing to sign a long contract with you. If you want me to do this show, I don't really need to do this show. But
I was in the Star War. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, great, come do the show. And then we'll talk afterwards if it goes well. So sweet. Sliding in under the buzzer. All right, Dan, The Witcher season 3 has begun filming and revealed its first set photo.
Yeah, cool. That's yeah, I also remember their names: Henry Cavill, Freya Allen, and Anya Charlatra on a frozen lake somewhere. The Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. So many dumb names I have in my head. With the horse. Hope the horse is okay. Yeah, cool. They're filming, probably means it'll be next year, most likely. Then they're not going to get that out this year. Fun for them. All right.
Yeah.
Daniel, this one's exciting. This is momentous. After 11 seasons, The Walking Dead has finished filming its 11th and final season. That's a wrap on the entirety of The Walking Dead, over a decade in the making.
One, congratulations to The Walking Dead. That's incredible that they had such a run, finished the show. It doesn't actually feel like they're wrapping anything, to be honest, because they've already announced like 4 or 5 spinoffs. So it hasn't given me time to actually feel like The Walking Dead's ending, because there's going to be more Walking Dead than ever starting soon.
It reminds me of like when they were like, we're taking a break from Star Wars movies. Now here's The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, and everything else. You're totally not taking a break. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I think, wait, let's flip these. Let's flip these next two. I messed up the order. My bad. Okay, so Maisie Williams goes full punk rock in the teaser trailer for the Sex Pistols biopic Pistol.
Pretty sweet. She is playing Pamela Rooker, who just died like days ago, apparently. Jordan, who is this kind of London punk rock 1970s sort of style icon. She kind of pioneered this, like, the extreme hairstyles and the ear makeup, which was a huge part of the punk music scene. I like punk. I've always been a fan. Sex Pistols are fun. Okay. That's coming out soon.
Yeah.
How fun. All right. Okay. You wanted this one. All right, Dan, here's a good one for you. Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, nay Facebook, his employees compare his management style to being watched by the Eye of Sauron from The Lord of the Rings.
I think that's the funniest thing ever. Like, it's one thing if, the media is calling you that or whatever. It's another if it's your own employees. And he just kind of laughed about it. He's like, yeah, I've got the Eye of Sauron.
He laughed it off.
It's like he shrugged it off. And it's like,
my employees think I'm the Dark Lord. You know how employees
ultimate
do.
Evil. Yeah.
Yeah, he has not done much soul searching about that.
No, he has not. All right. Dan, Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise in the It movie, will lead a remake of The Crow.
Yeah, The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, I think, back in the 90s. This dark, at the time, moody, edgy, revenge superhero. I mean, frankly, yes, kind of proto-superhero drama. And now Pennywise from It is going to be the new Crow lead man in a new movie. They're trying to remake it for ages. Good for them. I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The Crow's back, everybody. Have fun with that.
Crow.
Okay. Here's a good one. Daniel. Fantasy author Brandon Sanderson, author of such books as The Stormlight Archive and The Wheel of Time books after Robert Jordan died, ran a Kickstarter to publish his new books. It's over, and he raised over $41 million, shattering Kickstarter's record for a bunch of fantasy books.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. He doubled the previous record, which was for like a smartwatch.
The Pebble smartwatch.
The Pebble smartwatch. And yeah, he backed a bunch of other Kickstarters as a way of giving back. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff to give back. And They're like mystery books that he's mailing out to the backers next year. I think it's great.
That's very, very cool. Yeah, good for Brandon Sanderson. And again, it is cool that just like the biggest record is by far like over some fantasy books, like rather than anything. Good for it.
Yeah,
some books.
I hope it gets some
people
Hollywood
read.
notice.
It probably
People
will.
read.
He's gonna blow up eventually, like someday soon. It's gonna be like hit than George R. R. Martin. But okay, moving on.
Yeah. Okay, so Bruce Willis is retiring from acting after being diagnosed with aphasia.
Yeah, Bruce Willis, obviously iconic actor, Die Hard, Sixth Sense, Fifth Element. He's retiring from acting. He's getting up there. He has this disease. I mean, just take 20 seconds to just say, I've loved a lot of his movies. I watched them as a kid. I think he's done a lot of good work. So whatever he needs to do to live the rest of his life in peace, go do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bruce. Yeah, Bruce Willis is great actor. And with it, I think we have one more. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. Yeah. All right, Daniel. The first images of Game of Thrones star Jacob Anderson, who played Grey Worm, in AMC's Interview with the Vampire show, have been released. He is Louis, the main character, there with Lestat.
Yeah, I've been, I guess, middling excited for this show.
Yeah, right.
I like Anne Rice's work. I like Interview with the Vampire. I thought the movie still stands pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I like Jacob Anderson. I don't know who the person playing Lestat is. It's got something to prove, but not really, because this is introducing it to a whole new generation of fans.
Yeah, I'll be curious too to see how it goes over. It's been a long time since '94 and that older movie then, and they're going to update it. I mean, that movie definitely have a place in my head. I want to talk about it further, but that's the end of the lightning round, and that's the end of the show. Thank you for watching, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. We went pretty long. We have a lot to talk about, as always. We have very important opinions, and our opinions are final and authoritative. Thanks for watching. We are here every Wednesday live on the Winners Coming Facebook page and the Winners Coming YouTube page. We're also available in podcast form through stuff like iTunes, Google Play, wherever you can get podcasts. Thank you, Julie. See you next week as well. And we will see you here next Wednesday or afterwards if you want to listen to us later. Goodbye and fight the future.
Yeah, take care.